Alright guys, it's your boy Ryan Thomas here. Today with Failtech, I'm going to be comparing the Google Nexus 6 by Motorola to the Google Nexus 6P by Huawei. Now a little heads up before I get into this video, I got a decent amount of hate comments in my last video for saying that the 6P's fingerprint scanner is slower than the 6S Plus's. I'm a reviewer and I'm telling you my experiences. The only thing I can narrow it down to is the fact that I might have a dodgy Nexus 6P, which I don't think is the case at all because everything else works so fine. Maybe it's just a dodgy fingerprint scanner, or maybe I was one of the very lucky cherry-picked few to get a 6S Plus with blisteringly fast fingerprint scanner performance, but I'm pretty sure everyone had that. So anyway, I'm gonna, play devil's advocate here and just say that maybe I got a dodgy 6P. I think it's still very, very quick, but I'll talk about that later on in the video. I'm here to say I'm very sorry if I offended anyone because I was on a little bit of a rampage, and like I said, I apologise. But yeah, I'll get into that later on in this video. So firstly, I want to talk about the price. I was able to get my 6P brand new for £370, although they must be a little bit further down in price now. And I was able to get an almost mint condition Motorola Nexus 6 for £170. So you're looking at about half the price. If you're looking at this purely from a price perspective, I'd go with the 6 just because it is much better than half the phone for half the price, if that makes any sense. So firstly, I want to say, little disclaimer as well, I am a huge Nexus lover, and so both of these phones are almost ideal phones for me, and I say almost, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, these phones are almost ideal, and I'm going to be a little bit biased because I love Nexuses, but at the same time, Google's stock Android experience is the best. So firstly, let's talk about the design. Well, the 6P is kind of a taller and thinner phone, and the 6 is kind of a wider but slightly shorter phone as well, and it's a little bit thicker. And it's more of a wedge design on the 6 versus a more flat back, but with flat sides and slightly curved edges on the 6P. It's very hard to describe. Build materials, the 6, we're looking at metal rails around the outside, glass on the front, and almost a soft touch on the back. It's not soft touch. The white one, I'm not sure what it is, but it's kind of rubbery almost in a way, and I think that feels the better of the two to hold in the hand, but it's not actually the most premium. So, when you're comparing it to the 6P, which is all metal, and oh my gosh, isn't the design glorious. It is gorgeous with chamfered edges and like a full aluminium construction with glass on the front and the back. It looks amazing. But it is more slippery and you will have to put up with that. So firstly, we're really looking at the screens because that's what you look at most of the time. On the 6P, we've got a 5.7 inch Quad HD AMOLED display, and it took me a while to get that figured out. And it's a gorgeous display. It is one of the best displays on any smartphone. It is absolutely incredible. Now, it does hinder the battery life a little bit, but, and I will talk about that in a later part of the video, I have managed to find a way of basically getting the battery life to double, which is incredible, and has given me more of an incentive to keep this phone, even though I really don't want to, because I have to sell it to get money. I still kind of want to keep it. Versus the 6, which has a 6-inch Quad HD AMOLED display. I personally prefer this because of its size, but the crispiness of the 6P is just a little bit better, with obviously a higher PPI. And also, the 6 doesn't really get hindered, like the battery life doesn't get massively hit and impacted with this display. Maybe it's just because it's got a different kind of battery style or whatever. But with the 6P, I managed to kind of, with the same backgrounds, get worse battery life. Again, I have managed to fix that, but it kind of makes the phone a little bit more boring. Both are very responsive with touch sensitivity anyway, so it's fine. Next is a camera. So it looks like the 6P is going to steal the show with this one. I just found that the pictures looked crisper, the video looked crispier, and everything just kind of looked a little bit more professional on the 6P. Not to say that the 6 doesn't have a good camera, because it does have a great camera, but I don't think it's just anywhere near the level of the 6P. The 6P also has absolutely fantastic low light performance, as shown by many other reviewers, and I'll try and get some good low light shots in here as well. But, I mean, with my personal experience, I preferred the camera by far on the 6P for it being a little bit quicker and it shooting photos just better in my opinion, although the 6, like I said, does have a great camera. What about the specs then? Well, in the Google Nexus 6, that's the Motorola big boy, we have a Snapdragon 805 with 3 gigs of RAM. And with the 6P, we have a Snapdragon 810 with 3 gigs of RAM. Now, the RAM issue really isn't an issue because you both got 3 gigs of RAM. 3 gigs of RAM is a decent amount for the phone. Maybe it's not 6 gigs of the OnePlus 3, but it's still 3 gigs and that's a lot of RAM. But the 805 versus the 810. Now, I found the 810 to be snappy as hell. I mean, it's just as quick as any other phone. The 805 did almost beat that. The 805 being an older chip, actually I felt was almost as good as the 810. Not quite as good, in some tasks it did seem to struggle, but I felt that the 805 was still a very, very relevant chip in 2016, and I managed to cope with it very well. I managed to cope with pretty much any task, any game that I threw at it. And so you're not going to be worrying about performance in any of these phones because they're both blisteringly quick. But they're both blisteringly quick, and I mean, they're the fastest Nexuses that really have ever come out, apart from the 5X, which is just on par with the 6P. Now with the speakers, I did tend to go with the 6P with this one because they are, although they are slightly newer, they are, because the phone is a little bit taller, the speakers are actually kind of wider and further apart, which makes the experience good. Both sets of speakers are amazing. They get very loud, and they're a little bit distortion at the end of the spectrum, but I mean, for the most part, they are great speakers, and they're better than what you'll find on about 85% of phones nowadays. Now with battery life, I did say that the Nexus 6 was better than the 6P, and I still believe that it is better than the 6P for battery life. Not sure why, because the 6P does have a slightly bigger battery and a smaller screen. Maybe it's just the way the 810 is just a power hungry chip, I don't know. Battery life, like I said, I have managed to pretty much double with the 6P. I basically changed the background to a completely black, just completely black. Remember, these are AMOLED displays. If they see a black pixel, they will not like that. It's just plain black. This is amazing because if you set everything and you go even further and you set all the menus and stuff to be black as well, and you almost invert the colors, you're going to get insane battery life. This, I did change to a black background, and it has like doubled battery life, which is just ridiculous because I didn't think it would make that much of a difference. But it has, and it's great. The 6 still gets a little bit better battery life for me because although it's about on par with the 6P, if I installed a black background on the 6, I don't know how long that would last. That would last ages. But yeah, battery life, again, a little bit of a recap if you were from the previous video. I did say that the battery life was terribly bad. Now it's much better just using a black background. So if you're getting this phone, install a black background because my god is the battery life improved. Just for science reasons, even though this is a review. The 6, I'm looking at this on the 6P, using this for notes guys, I'm not a hater. The 6 does have a 3220 mAh battery, 6P has a 3450 mAh battery. So yeah, 6P's got a bigger battery. Now, fingerprint scanners. The Nexus 6P has a pretty quick rear kind of fingerprint scanner where you would put your pointy finger, I'm not sure what you even call it, I just call it pointy finger, but it's where you would put your pointy finger if you were to pick up the phone, and that makes it the ideal place to put it. I like manufacturers putting them on the front because if you've got your phone faced up, then you want to press that kind of fingerprint scanner. But for me, with how kind of dangerous it is to put the 6P on its back due to the glass visor on the back that sticks out, I generally put my phone face front if I'm using this phone. When I'm picking it up, I have my pointy finger pretty much perfectly on that fingerprint scanner, and it actually feels quicker than it actually is. Again, I've done tests and found that in my tests with my phones, remember my opinions are maybe I have different batches of phones to you guys, maybe I got a dodgy batch, but the 6S Plus was about 3 times as quick, maybe twice, 3 times as quick as the 6P, but that's when the screen is on and you are pressing that and you are pressing this on the front, and actual tests that I've conducted, the 6S is much quicker, 6S Plus that is. When you're using this day to day, the 6P actually feels quicker because it's more of a natural motion, like you pretty much constantly got your finger on the back there anyway. So there isn't really much of a comparison. It's almost like the 6P makes up for its slightly slower scan in my circumstances by its natural placement and just overall just great placement of the fingerprint scanner. Well done, Huawei. Nexus 6 has no, I'm joking, the Nexus 6 does not have a fingerprint scanner, and it's the only reason I'm not keeping that phone, because the Nexus 6 is my favourite Nexus to date. Yes, I have used the 6P, I have had a play with the 5X, but I haven't actually had one to test in my own, location. But my favourite has to be the 6, just because of its size, because of its balls to the walls design, and I love Motorola. Camera could be better, and fingerprint scanner. If there isn't a fingerprint scanner, it's likely that I'm not going to keep the phone, and I don't think I'm going to, keep it. I'm going to have to sell it anyway. So if I had to pick one, if I was on a budget, Nexus 6 instantly. The Nexus 6's screen and just the Nexus 6's screen is just and the battery life just makes it better for me. The design I prefer. I am not one of those people who want really premium phones in terms of the way they feel. I love metal design, don't get me wrong, the Nexus 6P is a marvel in just engineering, but I don't like the metal phones. That's one of the reasons I sold my 6S Plus, and also the fact that I needed money. But that's one of the genuine reasons I sold it, is because phones that are fully metal, I scratch really easily, and I just can't deal with that. I just don't like I like to see a phone in perfect condition almost, and it's much easier to keep something with a rubbery back in good condition for me, because I mean a rubbery back, you know, that's built to take stuff, you know what I mean? So if I had to pick a phone, I would have to go Nexus 6P, even though the Nexus 6 is my favourite phone ever in terms of Nexuses, because the 6P has a fingerprint scanner, the 6P is newer obviously, the camera is just like one of the best cameras that you can buy in a smartphone, and so I'd have to recommend the 6P over the 6, but if you're on a budget, go for the 6, because the 6 is the best Nexus to me. It's one of the like lost souls. I think lots of people take the size and the fact it's made by Motorola and think, oh, this is a crappy Nexus. For me, it's the best one that they ever made, and it's a hidden gem, and I love it. I just genuinely love big phones. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully that's cleared up, and hopefully you guys forgive me for being so harsh on the comments in the last video. I promise I won't be like that again. You know, the 6P it must just be a dodgy unit for me, because I mean, tests have shown that the 6P is faster, even though most reviewers say that the 6S is the quickest on the market. I don't know. If the Nexus 6P is faster, then it's the quickest fingerprint sensor on the market. I'm not able to recommend it to you guys as that, because I haven't done my personal testing like that, but I'm going to have to recommend the 6P anyway, because it is a glorious phone. If you were looking at this and seeing that it's your dream phone, you might be a little bit disappointed, but for the most part, you are going to thoroughly enjoy your experience. If you're coming from any other phone that isn't a Nexus, the Nexus 6P, my gosh, is that going to take your breath away. It's an absolutely incredible phone, the same way the 6 did with mine. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you do forgive me, and hopefully, you know, you can leave a like in this video and try not to boycott me, because, you know, I am genuinely trying to be nice to you guys, and I'm trying to give you my personal opinion and testing. I have done testing. It's not just an opinion thing that the scanner was quicker. I have actually done testing, and I've found that the 6S Plus is quicker. So a lot of this video has been about that, but I'm trying not to take that away from this. So hopefully you've enjoyed. Thanks for watching. If you could drop a like, that would be lovely. If you could drop a dislike, you know, please let me know if maybe I've done something wrong. Maybe I'm not, you know, like, I don't know, LGBT enough for you guys, and I've hurt your feelings, or you need to write a Tumblr post about this. I don't even know. But that's the end of this one, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a lovely week, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.